Welcome back to a very special edition of our show,
Sleepover Cinema,
where we analyze the films that created the collective unconscious of the girls, gays, and theys of the late 90s and early 2000s. I'm Hannah Leach.
And I'm Audrey Leach. We are the sister filmmaking duo, also known as Two Pink Pictures, and we haven't stopped thinking about these movies since we first saw them.
We're going to explore the good, the bad, and the nonsensical of these sometimes made-for-TV movies that first inspired our love for film, in an attempt to answer the question, are these movies actually good? And at the end of the day, do we really care if they are?
Today, we have a very special show for you. We are putting two iconic films in the ring together for a head-to-head showdown, okay? 2006's Material Girls versus 2006's Cowbells.
Marchetta sisters.
We are the face of Marchetta.
My gorgeous girls!
We're living the good life.
The Callum sisters, Taylor and Courtney. Two girls who always get what they want.
That's Daddy's factory. Isn't the cutest?
Until they got
Let me put this as delicately as I can.
a little bad news.
Marchetta Cosmetics. Future is a disaster.
Until one day,
Something's got to change. Come to a decision.
This sounds bad.
I'm insisting you take a summer job.
Now,
So sorry, your credit card's been declined.
Hey!
I had to cancel all your cards.
We're broke.
they're out of money.
now all they want is out.
Not happy right now.
The Disney Channel original movie, Cowbells.
Material Girl.
Of course they're in the same year.
I know they're only, Cowbells came out in March, Material Girls came out in August.
Wow.
I know.
They
But
were
we
on
will.
the same wavelength.
Yes, and we'll definitely talk about that. But by the end of this episode, Audrey and I will have come to a consensus on which movie did it better. Basically, which movie did the trope that both of them are centered around better. Which is a challenge because these movies are basically the exact same thing.
Literally the same thing.
So, in case you aren't familiar, here are the things these movies have in common. Audrey, if you would like to take us away.
Yeah, so they both star starlet sisters. So Material Girls stars Hilary and Haley Duff, Hilary being the main draw, and this film is their first appearance together on screen. I think most people our age know Haley Duff from like Napoleon Dynamite.
The only people that are scholars the way we are.
Yeah. But yeah, clearly Hilary is the person that people know, and then Haley is the sister tagging along for the ride.
Yes.
The second movie is Cowbells, which stars Allie and AJ, Allie being the main draw of the two. And it appears as though this was their first and only movie together. They primarily did music together, which I personally love to this day.
It really does hold up. And I actually do have to amend this slightly because they were in that weird indie movie together recently.
Yeah,
But
I think it was like 2015, 2016.
Yeah, but this was their only like Disney property that they
Yeah.
were in together and like their only tween movie.
Yep.
And I would like to say that we'll talk more about why Allie was the draw, but between Allie and AJ, but Allie did more acting than AJ had been doing. But we'll come back to that. Please continue.
Okay, so both Material Girls and Cowbells have the same plot line that involves a riches to rags coming of age scenario with their father's companies and or fortunes falling apart and the girls having to pick up the pieces. Whew. And they both involve unfortunate fires and relationships within different class levels. But most importantly, they came out within 3 months of each other. And what does that say about pop culture at the time? Like, really?
I think it's very interesting.
What were we gaining?
We were... To me, I feel like the fact that both of these movies came out when it did was like the very first whisperings of like the third wave of feminist criticism that's been happening lately, which so let's just go through our 2006 teen culture and I will wax more about the feminism stuff at the end. So, Audrey, tell us what was happening.
Okay, so the top song of 2006 was Irreplaceable by Beyonce, of course. The 2006's biggest movies were Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, Cars, and Night at the Museum. And it's the year of the first High School Musical.
Yes. And we'll talk about it more, but also Hannah Montana.
Yeah, I think that's on my list. Yes.
Oh. Sorry. Okay.
2006 was also the year of Britney Spears and Kevin Federline's breakup, and also Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown's breakup. I think that's
Bobby Brown, which is a weird coincidence because the makeup line.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're unrelated.
Yeah, because Bobby Brown, the makeup is with an I. Bobby Brown.
Great.
Anyway, Facebook opened. That doesn't read right.
Facebook creaked open its gates.
In 2006, Facebook allowed anyone over 13 to have an account. Ooh, maybe not the best decision.
It seems like that was early.
Yeah.
Also, MySpace was still a thing back then.
Mm-hmm. American Idol, Deal or No Deal, and Grey's Anatomy were some of the biggest TV shows. Hannah Montana emerged and changed all of us forever. iTunes use, I would imagine, is at an all-time high.
I can pick up from here because I wrote these. The billionth song downloaded from iTunes occurred in 2006. So this was like, when I think of this era, I found all of my favorite music through the iTunes store because that was the only thing I could get to on my computer because everything else was blocked. Because my parents were really fastidious in their parental controls. And so it was like a big thing, like the 99-cent songs from iTunes. Like if you got like a $10 gift card for iTunes, you got to like curate your 10 songs you would buy. And it was all very legit.
Calculated.
Because we, again, had a very controlled internet relationship when we were kids. The Wii was released, which is huge news.
Yeah.
Changed the basements of suburbia forever. I still have our Wii. It's in my living room right now, and I have been playing Guitar Hero over the past few months. And My Sims, but not actually.
Yeah, it's hard to get back into those games.
If you played My Sims, let us know.
If you played My Sims, you qualify for a veteran's discount.
The big shows on Nickelodeon at the time were powerful. Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, and Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, all shows that I am confident would hold up to this day, except maybe not Zoe 101.
And parts of Drake and Josh.
I wrote this list as cursed hit songs from 2006 because they remind me so much of sitting in my papasan chair and playing monkey ball in 6th grade. Bad Day by Daniel Powder, Temperature by Shauna Paul, Promiscuous by Nelly, I can never say her last name. Furtado, Hips Don't Lie by Shakira, Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, Crazy by Gnarls Barkley, Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake, which I still don't understand to this day because it always seemed super homoerotic to me. I guess it's kind of...
Why?
I think it's more that it's like a gender reversal thing because he's like, I'm bringing sexy back. Those other boys don't know how to act.
Yeah, but he's like, come here, girl. Na, 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 na.
Yeah, but it still seemed gay to me. I was like, wait, but why would he care about the other boys?
Because he's trying to like put them in his place.
I guess it's just that you hear very rarely hear a man being like, these other boys don't know how to act. Like you would hear like, these other girls don't know how to act because I'm so fine, but you wouldn't hear it from a man. I don't know. I remember thinking about that a lot. Run It by Chris Brown.
Canceled.
SOS by Rihanna. Very early career Rihanna. Ain't No Other Man by Christina Aguilera, which means she was going through her vintage phase.
Yeah, which is her best.
I agree. And, it's her second best after her, like, original, probably. Or there might be even tied.
Yeah.
And then Lips of an Angel by Hinder, my favorite song. Audrey doesn't laugh at all. She doesn't find it funny.
I don't know what that song is.
No, yeah, you do. The one that's like, it's really good to hear your voice saying my name. It sounds so sweet. You don't know that song?
I don't know it.
When I think of that song, I think of like, you know when you're in 6th grade and you see 8th graders and you're like, wow, they're so grown up?
Yeah.
Like I remember being at a middle school dance in 6th grade and watching like 8th graders in skate shoes slow dancing to that song and being like, wow, maybe someday I'll find love.
Absolutely not.
I know, Robert's Middle School. And then, importantly to me, Dance Dance by Fall Out Boy and I Write Sins Not Tragedies were big hits, giving way to the forthcoming era of mall emo, including MCR and Paramore and all those bands. That was going on too. at the same time as all this other stuff was going on, in like the tabloid culture world, which was a really big deal at the time because it was still before social media really existed, we were a few years into the like very like sex tape adjacent celebrity culture of like Paris Hilton and early Kim Kardashian and like Jessica Simpson, like borderline pornographic music videos, that sort of thing. And like Girls Next Door. Is that what the Playboy show was called?
No idea.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. Whatever. It was a reality show. And where it was like Hugh Hefner and his like girls. It was very much like The Simple Life, but with Hugh Hefner in it. It was weird.
I don't have awareness of that.
I think it might have been a little too early for your consciousness.
I think I was still a baby.
I mean, thank God, because it was literally like damaging.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we were a few years into this sort of celebrity archetype. So I think this is a good example of like some of the criticism that was going on in pop culture at the time. Pink, the recording artist, let out this song called Stupid Girls in 2006. And Audrey, do you remember this song or video?
Yeah. I just rewatched the video today, so I really remember the video.
Well, but did you remember it before I sent it to you?
I think the only like shot of it that I remembered was her on the car.
Yeah. So basically the conceit of the video is that it's Pink like parodying Jessica Simpson washing a car in a bikini and then like parodying Paris Hilton by like making fun of eating disorders, which is an interesting choice. When I was watching it earlier today, it really struck me that like the type of girl she was making fun of only exists in like a population of like 3,000 LA people.
Yeah.
Like it's not someone that like we ever would have encountered.
No.
And so I feel like it was super weird that she was like disseminating this take to like the youths of America.
Yeah.
And there was like a lot of people saying that the video is hypocritical because she's also hot and blonde. And just because she's like a quote unquote rebel doesn't mean that she hadn't done the same thing, because she literally did.
And she, you know, the markets that those celebrities that she's parodying benefit from, she also benefits from.
Yeah. There's
it's not like the audiences don't overlap.
Right. Well, which I think is why she did it. So basically, I found this clip of her on Oprah talking about why she released the song and whether she had like received any backlash from Jessica or Paris or anything. And she told Oprah that she just wanted her audience to know that sexy and smart are not oil and water. You don't have to dumb yourself down to be cute. So I think she was saying that because of the fact that The Simple Life was so huge and like all these reality shows were just being like plastic surgery enhanced and rich was like a selling point. I think that she wanted to speak to that, but the amount of
I feel like the messaging gets lost in the imagery.
Yeah, because she's basically doing the same thing but making it seem like almost scary.
Yeah, she's like demonizing it.
Yeah, it's like really, really, really hateful towards other women in this way. Like, I saw this video recently, this YouTube video about cringe and like why people cringe at stuff. And a lot of it is because if you recognize a piece of yourself in something and you're like, oh, I hate that, I really hate what they're doing, like you want to distance yourself as much as possible. And I feel like Pink making that video was her being like, I'm not like that, I'm not like that. But like, you can't help but draw the comparison when she's literally doing the same things.
And that's why it's cringe and it's not like a point. Like, she's not making a point with this. It's her trying to distance herself.
So you might be asking yourself, why are we talking about this? And why I bring this up is because these movies, Cowbells and Material Girls, feel like a weird child-washed version of the same idea that Pink was going for, which is like, look at these dumb, pretty rich girls. We're going to humiliate them in this movie, and then they're going to like become a better person in the end. And like, yeah, they're not good people, but like, why were there multiple movies with the exact same thing going on? Happening at the exact same time that are for kids? Like, you know, it's just weird.
It's really kind of giving me the feeling that like a bunch of executives were really just under the spell of the pop culture like zeitgeist of the time, and like really being like, we don't want our daughters to grow up like this type thing.
Right.
And so they're like, let's put that type of girl literally this type of person that exists in LA and like hardly like of course spoiled little like white rich girls
Yes.
live all over the country.
Right.
But
which I do think is interesting because it's really clear that Cowbells is not set in LA. And I think it makes a big difference, and we will come back to that.
I think it makes a big difference too. But I just have a feeling that like the executives of the time weren't thinking the most realistically. I don't know.
Also, just like people hadn't evolved to understand the concept of internalized misogyny yet. Anyway, so now we're going to talk about these movies, but now you have a really clear vision of what was kind of going on in the world at the time of these movies coming out. So I'll talk about Cowbells, and then Audrey is going to talk about Material Girls. So Cowbells premiered on March 24th, 2006, the exact same day as Hannah Montana's first episode. I just want that fact to reverberate through the space. It premiered a few months before Material Girls, but I'm pretty sure they were in production probably at the same time or around that. Cowbells was directed by Francine McDougall, and her credits are pretty limited and they're mostly pretty random things, but she also directed Go Figure, which made me realize when we were talking about Ice Princess and I was going, there's that song, Go Figure.
It's not in that movie.
It's not in that movie. It's in Go Figure.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing that movie was made by Disney, came out the same year. Disney let out 2 ice skating movies in the same year, and we should have done a versus on those.
Oh.
But I don't think we ever saw Go Figure.
I didn't care about it.
Me neither.
So I think that's why.
That's probably why. This movie was written by Matt Dearborn, who has produced and written a ton of TV. Like, his credits are extremely extensive. But relevant to what we're talking about, he wrote for Even Stevens, Phil of the Future, but I accidentally spelled Phil, F-I-L-L of the Future. Like, I've got my Phil of the Future. Romeo, like... Remember that show, Romeo?
Yeah.
Exclamation point.
That's a good show.
Yeah. And then Beverly Hills 90210, just like teen stuff was his thing. And then it was also written by Stu Krieger, who wrote a truly stunning lineup of Disney Channel original movies, including Xenon Z3, Smart House, Phantom of the Megaplex, which I'm pretty sure I know, Hunter. And then he also wrote For the Land Before Time, which I found funny.
That is funny.
There was no budget accessible on IMDb, but Wikipedia says that the budget was $5 million. I don't know if that's true, but it seems
sounds right.
It seems right.
Yeah.
Even though, like,
For Cowbells, yeah.
Audrey's like, yeah, Carry the One seems right for Cowbells.
It does, though. For a made-for-TV DCOM, that sounds right.
There was no critic score for Cowbells on Rotten Tomatoes, but there was a 62% audience score, which is, like, pretty okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then I picked a few critic opinions. There were only 4 critic opinions on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's sweet and mildly enjoyable in that Disney Channel way, but it's also instantly forgettable.
Beg to differ. Just kidding.
And then someone said, the film is worth watching for the sisters' progression toward becoming responsible adults. You start to care about their plight because they actually start to care about someone besides themselves.
Yeah.
It's like the most shallow take of all time.
Yeah.
Also, we haven't acknowledged the fact that we're sisters and we're talking about movies about sisters.
It's true. It's happening.
That's it. That's all I have to say.
That's as deep as that gets. Who knows? Maybe something deeper will come out of it.
It probably will. So, plot synopsis. In order to learn how to be responsible, 2 wealthy teen sisters are forced to work in the family business by their exasperated father. When the company funds go missing, it's up to the girls to save the day. Tagline, there is none, but apparently this movie was inspired by The Simple Life, which makes sense because I'm pretty sure there were episodes of like Paris and Nicole going to the farm and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And really the most interesting part of the movie is the cast. And I'm going to just talk about Allie and AJ, not because the other people weren't good, but just because it's the most important thing in my mind to talk about them. So, described on the internet as having a musical sound somewhere between Fleetwood Mac and Avril Lavigne, which is the best description and a really flattering description.
Really flattering description. Like they should really just keep this on there.
Put that on there. Put that in their press kit.
Tombstone.
Put that line in the press kit. Ellie and AJ were and are a successful pop duo.
Listen to their latest music,
it's
people.
It's really good. It's evolved a lot, and they took a lot of time off of doing music between this era and now, but we'll we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So Allie of Allie and AJ was famous at the time of this movie coming out because she had been the lead in Now You See It, which was a Disney Channel original movie for which she and her sister recorded a cover of Do You Believe in Magic? And Allie was also famous, moreover, for being Keely in Phil of the Future.
Yeah. I think that's how most people knew her.
Yeah, which was a show on Disney Channel. She somehow wrangled her sister into the Disney Channel world through their music. It's not super clear how. I think it was just like they were both blonde and pretty and talented.
I think that they had grown up singing together and performing together all the time. And then Allie was the one who ended up getting casted in these shows. And when they found out she could sing, they put her on the Radio Disney holiday disc.
Yeah, right.
And she probably was like, oh, me and my sister performed together. And it probably just like fell into place.
Right.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing that isn't super packageable about them. They're like the most packageable people ever.
Literally.
Especially for them.
Easy.
Yeah.
It's easy.
So they were like actually pretty respected even outside of the Disney World realm, like not like super revered obviously, but like their songs were good and like they could actually sing.
Yeah, they could actually sing.
And they can actually sing. But especially back then when everyone was like like super boring and
Chipmunk.
nasal. Yeah, like they actually have pretty good voices.
Yeah.
And like a distinctive sound too.
I feel like more parents could tolerate Allie and AJ.
Yes.
And so they were like, yeah, let's do Allie and AJ.
Yes. And they were also like very squeaky clean. Like there wasn't any sort of sexual undertones to them, to the point where in my research I discovered that originally they did not identify as Christian musicians, but they quote unquote wrote from a Christian perspective. I don't really know what that means.
It doesn't mean anything.
But they did say that they didn't believe in evolution. Like,
oh, wow.
In an interview. And then a couple years ago, someone tweeted that at them. And they tweeted back being like, we believe in evolution. Thank God for the glow up, both mentally and physically or something. So yeah, they were squeaky clean and now they're like indie goddesses and they are clearly rich and they're very like, we're rich and pretty and we can do what we want.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be rude to them. If they hear that, I don't want you to think that I don't respect you and love you.
I respect it.
Anyway, that's that on that.
Okay.
Take us away with Material Girls, Audrey.
Ooh, okay, Material Girls. I'm going to have to try to not let my opinions shine through here. All right, so Material Girls premiered August 18th, 2006 in theaters. Got the theatrical release.
It got the whole theatrical release.
Not the cowbells made for TV moment.
They're the same runtime, basically, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they both feel like the longest
movies ever made. They feel like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
So allegedly, Material Girls is based on Sense and Sensibility, which does make sense loosely. I can see it. It's like two sisters and their shenanigans and how they're shallow and then they're not.
I don't know shit about Sense and Sensibility.
Okay, that's basically what it is.
Okay, got it.
So Material Girls was directed by Martha Coolidge, who went to Tisch for film at NYU after studying illustration at the Rhode Island School of Design. So she was gonna be in illustration, and then she was like, "Never mind, I want to do film." And so
she's rich.
I don't know.
So she came for money.
I'm assuming so.
Got it.
I mean, that would kind of make sense, wouldn't it?
Yes. Especially considering her name is Martha Coolidge.
Martha Coolidge.
What's your name? What's your story?
Yeah. So are you Alyssa Edwards? What's your name? What's your story? What is going on this day? Anyway, some of Martha's most well-known credits that I could easily identify.
Again, we're picking things based off of what we care about.
Yeah, not what's actually good and important.
Yes.
She did 2 episodes of Sex and the City. She's most known for the film Valley Girl with Nicolas Cage, the film Introducing Dorothy Dandridge with Halle Berry, and Rambling Rose with Laura Dern. Those are some really, really solid credits.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, Laura
Dorothy
Dern,
Dandridge.
Halle Berry.
What's Dorothy Dandridge?
It's a biopic.
Is it biopic or biopic?
I say biopic. Biopic sounds scientific, and
I agree.
I don't agree.
Biopic makes way more sense.
I think it's biopic.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
it's a biopic. And it was written by John Quaintance, Jessica O'Toole, and Amy Raridan, who are essentially all TV people, which makes a whole lot of sense when you watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So John is most well known for writing Aquamarine,
Forthcoming.
the crowned jewel of all teen entertainment.
You mean the crown jewel?
Crowned jewel? Crown jewel? John is most well known for writing, in part, I think there's 2 writers on Aquamarine, but he did co-write Aquamarine, which is, I think, our favorite teen movie.
It's up there.
It's gotta be. I mean, it's really close if it's not number 1, which I'm extremely impressed that Aquamarine could even partially come out of the mind of a man. I just...
Well, you have to remember that it was a novel first.
Oh, that's true. Okay,
and so
that's
he was
true.
basically just translating it.
Yeah, he's translating it. Okay, yes, we'll bring it back to reality. Thank you.
You're welcome.
He also wrote Hot Pursuit, which is this weird movie that stars Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara, and I don't think anybody saw it.
I remember seeing commercials for that and being like, "What?"
Yeah, like at my job, I'm working with a man who worked on Hot Pursuit, and it's like a meme.
Really?
Yeah,
That's funny.
That's why I wrote it
Like
down.
in what way?
Because he just was like, "Why does this exist? Like it just like isn't necessary."
Yeah.
And then he's also written lots of TV. Jessica has written Charmed, Greek, and The Carrie Diaries, which are all TV shows, and so has her writing partner, Amy.
I forgot about the Carrie Diaries.
I watched it.
I know. I remember you watching it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I just have a soft spot for Anna Sophia Robb.
I get it.
Like, I like her. So anyway, the budget was $15 million, and the domestic opening weekend came in at $4 million. Wah, wah. Very sad. And I found this information about how the movie struggled to find a distributor, and I have this little quote about it. The film began production on April 18th, 2005. On March 31st, 2006, Lucas Haas, the guy who plays Henry, told an entertainment website that the movie might not find a distributor. On April 6th, Box Office Mojo reported that the movie had been bought by MGM and would be released in August. It was released in 1,500 theaters and flopped, but ultimately grossed over $12 million in DVD sales.
Which does make sense.
It makes so much sense because this is the movie that moms will buy when they're passing it in the DVD aisle because their kids are bored and it's summertime.
Yes.
You know?
They have to drive to North Carolina.
It's
So
that.
they need something to burn the time.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense in that way. And you know what? There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
It's valid.
Yeah.
The critic score is 4%. 4.
I could not believe that when I saw that.
And the critical opinion is, plagued by paper-thin characterizations and a hackneyed script, Material Girls fails to live up to even the minimum standards of its genre.
That is such a brutal take.
Brutal, but that's kind of how I feel, guys.
I'm excited because
That's how I feel.
I'm ready to step up to the bat for Material Girls personally.
Good luck. And then the audience score is 44%. A far cry from 4%.
Yes.
I mean, they should be proud of that.
Yes.
The plot synopsis, basically repeating the Cowbells plot synopsis, is stripped of their wealth and forced to fend for themselves when the multi-million-dollar cosmetics company inherited from their father suffers due to controversy. Two sisters who have never known the simple life must finally find out how the other half lives in a high-fashion comedy about hard times, starring Hillary and Haley Duff.
First of all, they have known the simple life. They live the simple life.
Yeah, this person doesn't know what the simple life means.
Whoever wrote that really does not know.
They thought it meant not being rich, but it means being rich. And also,
where'd you get this from?
Hard times.
I know.
Yikes. Yikes.
Where'd you find that description?
This is from Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You've got some good taglines
These
here.
taglines, we've got two. And I just don't claim this, okay? I do not claim this culturally at all. The first one is, it's a short trip from the penthouse to the poorhouse.
Brutal.
Moment of silence. And the second one is, they lost a fortune, but got a life.
Like,
no.
The penthouse to the poorhouse.
Like,
it's a whatever. Okay.
we can't even dwell on that.
Yeah, no, we gotta keep it moving.
So the cast, fun fact about Material Girls, and it's honestly very obvious, is that it was written for Mary-Kate and Ashley, and they did not take the roles. And Lindsay Lohan and Anne Hathaway both auditioned for this movie, but ultimately Hilary and Haley Duff got the parts. So we've got Angelica Huston, who is in Ever After, The Addams Family, Smash, and I put in The French Dispatch because that's a current one. It's a Wes Anderson film. We've got Brent Spiner, who is Data in Star Trek,
That
The
was
Next
like
Generation.
my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah, it's so random. They even threw in a reference. Like, it's...
They throw in like this really tactless Star Trek reference, but I was so happy to see him because
Yeah.
I love Star Trek.
Yeah, he's mostly known for Star Trek and Independence Day.
And he's in Picard,
Yes.
the
Also Star Trek.
current day reboot of Star Trek Next Generation, basically.
And then we've got Lucas Haas, who is in Inception, Witness, First Man, and, drumroll please, the Welcome to the Black Parade music video by My Chemical Romance.
Ding! I knew in my soul, but I could not place it when I was watching.
Yeah, that was like a deep cut from his IMDb. I was like, what? That was one of his first things.
He's like the lead. He's like the guy in the Welcome to the Black Parade music video,
Yeah.
which is big.
All right, we've gotten through the facts.
We got through the facts, so I'm sure you're ready for a break, and so are we. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we are going to duke it out. I don't really think there's that much to duke out, but
No.
we're going to talk about both these movies and have a little discussion, a little compare and contrast,
Yeah.
a little Socratic seminar,
Yes. Get your notes.
BRB. And if you haven't rewatched them both, we'll have to announce in advance that people should rewatch these so they can be ready.
You need to prep for
You do
this.
need to prep. There's prior reading required for this one. Okay, anyway, be right back. Hello, everyone. We are back. We took our break, and now we are ready to get into the details even more of Material Girls / Cowbells. We have 6 questions for the dissecting here, but the first question is, which of these 2 movies had better characters?
Should I answer it?
Do you want to take a minute to think and then say something?
No, I don't need a minute. Do you need a minute?
Well, no. I think that the answer to the question lies in, does better mean more morally sound or more entertaining? I personally think that a better character just means that they're more entertaining.
Okay, yeah, the standards of better and more likable or more lovable even are like different because in my mind, obviously, Cowbells has the more lovable characters.
Yes.
Because again, as we said before, they actually more realistically are learning how to care about somebody other than themselves.
Like straight out of the gate, they're a little bit more self-aware.
Yeah.
Which is like not why you come to a movie like this, to be totally honest.
No.
I think that Material Girls has better characters.
Do you really?
I do, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
There's something specific about them. Haley Duff sucks. Hilary Duff sucks a little bit less, but like
2%
but
less.
she's like at least a scientist and like has some interests in some shit. Like she actually cares about skincare. And then we have
she actually cares
Tom
about
Katzenberg or
skincare.
whatever his name is. Data. He has a distinct personality. Angelica Houston has a pretty distinct personality. The guy from the Black Parade music video has a pretty distinct personality. I think that the characters in Material Girls are way more distinctive and
I mean, they definitely have stronger opinions, I guess. Or they're not beating around the bush. Like they like say what they mean, kind of.
So what do you mean?
Like, because it's not a decom, they're able to say and do things that cowbells can't do. Like when Haley Duff starts smoking the cigarette and Hillary's like, stop. I mean, Tansy is like, stop
Friggin'
smoking the
Tansy.
cigarette. Which, honestly, that's just a throwaway to have a fire, which I hate.
This movie really distinctly is clearly not Disney.
Yeah, it's distinctly not a decom.
It was probably the beginning of Hillary trying to edge away from kids stuff because there's that whole part about prostitutes.
Yeah, and
that we'll
that
get to.
weird scene where she walks in to bribe the guy.
Yeah.
And it's just so bad.
Okay, Audrey, I need more about the characters from you.
Honestly, I can't really defend as far as like really distinctive character traits from cowbells.
Yeah, I think that maybe one thing that would be appropriate to talk about here is I got like very big like suburban rich vibes from them, whereas in Material Girls, it's like LA astronomically rich.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that they're actually that rich in cowbells. Like, I think that they are wealthy, but they're not like millionaires.
No.
That's kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah, the level of wealth is not as high as in Material Girls.
Yeah. Like, I feel like the level of wealth that they have in cowbells is like the same as a lot of people that would have been watching cowbells.
Which in a way makes it better. Just, I mean, depending on what you're watching it for. Like, what's the goal of watching this?
Yeah.
Material Girls is more unattainable and more like dumb fun and entertainment. And I think Cowbells was kind of trying to drive home a lesson for its viewers.
Cowbells doesn't hate its characters.
Yeah.
And Material Girls fucking hates its characters.
Yeah, except for the down-to-earth lawyer guy. They don't hate him.
They like the guy from the My Chemical Romance video.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it.
Because he's like the real one.
Right. He was actually pretty funny in this movie.
Yeah, I thought he really brought like a different tone to it.
Yeah.
His tone and everybody else's tone don't really match.
They don't match, but like it's fun. Okay, so which movie had more entertaining characters?
I guess Material Girls.
I agree, Material Girls. Okay.
Yeah.
Which movie had a better plot? And by better, I mean airtight. Like, which one had the closest to a sensical, not full of holes plot?
The fact that I can hardly even remember the sequence of events in Material Girls kind of leads me to think that Cowbells has a more concrete, but the end of Cowbells is like, this seems really, really, really unlikely.
Tell us why
Because
or what it is.
AJ's character is trying to have a cotillion, and she wants to throw it with her like 3 friends who
Are all evil.
And just basically want her for her money.
But they all want each other for their money.
Yeah, they want each other for their money because they want to throw the perfect cotillion. And
Correct.
it turns out that Allie's character spends AJ's budget for her party because the dairy has made these various mistakes and they need to make up for all the money they lost and they need to pay their payroll.
You mean it's not the dairy? I don't think a dairy factory is called a dairy.
Well, they refer to it as the dairy.
Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
They do refer to it as the dairy. Anyway,
I do.
the very way too fast change of heart that the mean girls have when they roll up to the dairy with their father.
Is it them?
It's them minus the meanest girl.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the 2 little side mean girls show up and they're like, your dad showed up to Cotillion and we thought we should just come with him.
Yeah, so the important piece of context is that kind of the whole thing of the movie is that like the uncle who's in charge of the company like whisks the dad away on this trip, and then the uncle disappears with all the money, and then they never come back to that.
No.
Which is interesting because apparently there was an alternate ending where it was about catching the uncle and getting the money back.
Right.
Which would have made way more sense.
Would have made way more sense.
And in that sense, it reminds me of Uptown Girls.
Yeah.
Because in Uptown Girls, she loses all of her money and they're just like, that's that.
They just don't, that's not the goal of the movie. The goal of the movie isn't let's recover your wealth. It becomes something else about like what's happening internally. But for that reason, I guess I would say that Material Girls kind of has a more airtight plot, just in that it does
make more
actually
sense.
deal with who's dealing with the money and like what's happening with the business and like how are we going to recover from this.
Yes, I agree. Like it is about the business and like the arc of the business along with the arc of the kids, which does make sense. So
never did I think I would be making an argument for Material Girls.
I do think the plot makes more sense. But okay, this next one
But there's elements of the Cowbells plot that make more sense. For
There's
sure.
a lot of really
the internal stuff makes more sense plot-wise from Cowbells.
I agree.
There's a slow build and development of like AJ's hating her life and she hates her sister because she spent all of her money on the employees of the dairy instead of the cotillion. And she's mad about it. And then it takes her some time, but she gets there, you know?
Well, yeah, I think that the relationship between the Duffs is a lot more like campy / bizarre.
Yeah, it's like you don't really believe it, even though they're actual sisters. I was like, I don't really.
Well, I feel like Haley was just like, my little sister is more famous than me, so I have to like wedge my way in, like as an older sister.
Yeah.
And then with Allie and AJ, they actually have like a pretty genuine connection.
Yeah, their chemistry really comes through.
But I did think, here's really my question. Like, did you think it was fucked up that she spent the cotillion money? Because my first thought was, why didn't she just sell her car? But then she sells it later. But it's like, why didn't you sell your car first instead of just stealing your sister's like
budget
little fund thing?
Yeah, and because she runs it past her, and then AJ's like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
and then she does it anyway.
Like, that is a crazy thing to do.
It is a crazy thing to do, but clearly Farm Boy has put Allie on another level of like, we need to be a good person, which is kind of a whole other thing of like,
there's a lot of,
why are these men, like these boys, making the girls like
realize that they're like bimbos or something. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like they do the bare minimum, and there's also this weird running gag of like both the girls in both movies like hating animals and then like slowly coming to love animals, and it's like,
I'm
what?
like, when did women lack a love for animals?
Yeah, like when was empathy the problem? Like I just don't understand.
Empathy wasn't the problem.
Yeah, I find that to be very weird. This is kind of plot adjacent, but I will say there were some actually really funny lines in Material Girls. Like there were some really bad ones, but I guess it's just this one thing. I just thought it was really funny when Data said that they were going to earn themselves a tax credit by doing a charity event.
Yeah.
That just was funny.
You thought that was funny?
I mean, I wasn't like, haha, that's funny, but I was like, that's actually something that someone would say in that position.
Yeah, that's true. That was like one hint of somebody who's like superficial and would say something like that.
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing it for charity, we're like doing it for the tax
money.
credit.
Yeah. I also want to just point out that this movie carries on the trend of the nose job gag of the mid 2000s because there's an assistant at the Marchetta like cosmetics company who has this like really aggressive nose job bandage.
For some reason, it's always healing until the last scene.
Yeah, it was weird. Okay, moving on to the next question. Which movie aged better?
Cowbells.
Absolutely, but we should get into why.
Because as I keep saying, because Cowbells is a DCOM, they do tend to steer clear of topics that could potentially get them in trouble, being race and class and sex and, you know, like surgery, like plastic surgery. They don't really go into that. Man, what else? I mean, Material Girls touches on all that
Girls
stuff.
gets on jail, immigration, sex,
9/11,
prostitution, 9/11,
just shitting on people,
racism,
literally just getting on a public bus and being like, ew. it's just you.
Well, but like they're supposed to. Again, this movie hates its main characters. Like, you're supposed to hate them.
I guess for me, watching it now in 2020, it's like I just can't keep track. I don't know what the awareness was, how somebody would have viewed this in 2006.
That's also really true. Like, I do think that obviously, like, racism played for a punchline was, I mean, I'm not saying it's not a thing now because it is, but like it was way less subtle back then. Like now we have memes, and then we had like literal sassy black woman characters, which like, again, they still exist now, but they were not as obvious as they were back then.
It's just like, it's to the point where if you watch it now, you're just like, what?
Yeah. So
I was like, how does this exist? Like,
yeah. And I think, again, I think this was also like the era of like South Park and Family Guy humor that was very like rooted in being like quote unquote edgy. So like quote unquote like telling the truth, like what people are thinking but not saying, which is fucked up.
yeah. Very.
Like my personal highlight reel of fucked up things that they say.
I have a whole bunch.
Okay.
Too. When Haley and Hillary are entering the party, like the club for the first time, she says, like Hillary goes like, oh, it's so narrow. Like the entrance is so narrow. And Haley goes, anybody who ever gained baby weight can't fit.
Oh, yeah,
I was like, what? I was like, that's such a bizarre thing to say.
I remember that. I didn't even write that down because I was like cooking dinner while listening to that part.
I was like, what?
Yeah. So tell me if I'm missing anything that you have.
Okay.
So the first thing I noticed that at least struck me as something that you wouldn't see in a Disney movie was Inez, who's their like housekeeper, but like the girls are staying with her at her house once their house burns down because, again, unfortunate random fires.
This is the thing that girls come in contact
bimbos
with.
Start fires. That's the moral of both these movies.
And that's how we know they're not responsible, and that's how we got to keep them in check.
And that's how they deserve to lose everything. Anyway, so Inez mentions post 9/11 immigration delays, which basically she's talking to the girls about how their dad was helping her bring her kids over, like from whatever country she's from, which they never specify, which is also like part of what makes this movie so problematic. And I was like, oh, interesting. So that's not problematic, but it's like
it was just like
underdeveloped thing that they said. And it was kind of like they brought it up to be like, wow, people were affected by 9/11 that aren't white. Like, I don't know. It was just a weird moment.
It was weird. I have another one.
Okay.
Oddly, Haley's character starts like shaming Tansy, Hillary's character, for wanting to like go home and fill out a college app.
Okay.
Like they're in the club and Haley's like, nobody's gonna like us or be friends with us if you just like want to be smart. Like that's basically what she's saying. And I was like, all right, interesting. That's interesting. Like,
is that
God forbid Hill wants to go to college?
Yeah, well, but that's like the point of this whole movie is that they're like supposed to be like dumb and happy.
Yeah. But the fact that Hillary starts not being that way.
Yes.
Is kind of weird.
And then it kind of goes away.
Yeah, and then it goes away.
But not meaning just like the screenplay stops paying attention to it. They have this friend Etienne who's gay, and they make this weird joke about how Etienne's like gonna go straight for them, which like is literally a thing our friends would say to us. Like I could imagine any of our friends saying that to us, but I was like, interesting.
I just can't believe they put it like on blast, like in an MGM movie. I was like, what?
I was surprised by that too.
When they are on the public bus though, one of them goes like, it smells in here or something. And I was like, wow, this is like a Parasite reference.
Yeah, right. It does have that vibe.
I was like the least smart version of Parasite right here. Like,
yes.
What?
Basically, the main issue with this movie is that it deals with race like really brutally and horribly, which we already mentioned. But like, I kind of think that the most notable part was when Hillary ends up being put in jail for like looking through these files that she wasn't supposed to look through to try to find like a person that she suspects of having like disparaged their family name.
Which is a thing that literally would not happen.
Right.
It literally would not happen.
And also, did you notice that like all the police were very pointedly black?
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like, I've actually noticed that in other things from the early 2000s as well.
It's in Confessions too.
Yeah, like they make, and I just can't help but believe that it's on purpose. Right?
And it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
You
it's
cast these
casted.
parts. Like, I don't know.
It seems purposeful.
Yeah, basically the cop that like arrests Hillary is black, and then when she goes to jail, the like cop that she interacts with there is black. And they make the weirdest choice when she's in prison. It's like they put her in this cell.
Like a holding cell.
Yeah, so first of all, the place that she went to go look for the files for, when she went there, she dressed up as like basically a prostitute, I guess, to try to like seduce whoever was
in the way of her getting to the files.
Yeah, which is like a really harmful idea in a lot of ways, but especially because like bad shit probably would have happened to her in real life.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so wildly, and also like the camera's gaze in that scene, it's just like, what are you trying to communicate? This movie is for children.
Yeah. Was it rated PG-13?
I don't know.
It had to have been.
Yeah, it had to have been.
Yeah.
But
let me double
you know,
check that.
it's very like wow, 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 you know, that type of thing, like a pan up from the heels to the
It's only rated PG.
Oh man.
That is really surprising.
That's
because
crazy.
There was a lot in there. Imagine getting that for your kid and being like, this is PG. And then they literally talk about prostitution.
Yeah.
Like, which again, not to set, whatever. Sex work is complicated and I'm not trying to get into that. But like, at least not here. But anyway, the point is
it's just not what you expect.
Yeah, so she ends up being like held at this prison or like at this jail.
Yeah.
Not a prison. She's held in this jail. Holding cell. For some reason, it's her and like two butch lesbians, at least what we're supposed to interpret them as butch lesbians.
They're coded, yeah.
And then like just like a truly random black woman.
Yeah.
And it first starts off as this scene where they're communicating that the lesbians are going to gang her. And then they're like, never mind, Tansy's going to teach them how to do skincare.
Yeah.
And then the black character is like, there's toe jam between my toes running from the popo.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Yes.
And her name is La Portia.
No, it's
disgusting.
Entirely gross and shouldn't exist. And I really wonder what they felt like on set. Like, there's just no way that everyone's smarter than that.
Yeah, and there was that whole thing where both the girls like dress up as like housekeeper or like as like
it's supposed
female
to be
janitorial staff at one point, and they put on like lip liner and hoop earrings and are like talking about being gangbangers and stuff.
And the company is called Sassy Maids.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so coded. The whole thing is just so bad. It's so bad. I hated it so much. Like, I was like, why is this movie making my blood boil right now?
Yeah. It was
and just really random side note, one of the like lesbians in the holding cell is Coach from Glee.
Yes, thank you. Because I was thinking that I was like, why does she look familiar? Like, what do I know her from?
Like, what the hell?
Coach from Glee. Which of these two movies do you think looked better? I'm gonna leave that one to you because I really don't have that much to say.
And we're talking from like a cinematography standpoint.
Yes.
Which one looks better? Kind of hard to say because I watched them both on a laptop, but I would say Cowbells looks better.
Yeah.
Because Material Girls is very much set to set to set to set. It's very built.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have like a perspective. It doesn't have a particular like lens, if you know what I'm saying. Not that Cowbells is super innovative with their cinematography or anything, but there are at least some shots where you're like, oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's pretty. Like when Allie and the farm boy are walking in the field.
Oh, I forgot about the fact that when she puts on she's like clearly wearing his clothes because she weirdly just hugged like a raw cow. I'm always like, wow, she's really she's really down with her man.
Yeah, exactly.
She's in basketball shorts and a big t-shirt. Like, wow.
And they're walking in the field together. But that shot is actually pretty.
It looks like the front of a Hidden Valley Ranch bottle.
Yeah. So like,
which I like.
Literally for that reason alone, Cowbells gets the cinematography award.
Yeah, there is a lot more going on there, I suppose. Also, I wanted to ask you how you feel about the hair texture of Allie and AJ.
Oh my God.
As you have very curly hair.
Funny. We are being led to believe that these girls curl their hair with like a 1/2-inch wand every day.
I think that's their actual hair texture.
It's not.
It's not?
They have straight hair. Are you serious,
Literally,
Hannah?
my jaw is dropped. Well, no, because I was looking at it and I was thinking about it and I was like, those curls look really crunchy. Like, it feels like, you know how people used to do the thing where they would like spray the shit out of their hair?
Yeah, but that's when your hair isn't straight.
But that's what it looked like to me.
No, they got straight hair. I think they might have a little wave or something, but like if you look at them now.
No, you're right.
They got straight hair.
Unless they're straightening it all the time. Why would they choose to have such a high maintenance hairstyle?
Well, because I mean I said Keely. For Allie's brand, that hairstyle carries over from Phil of the Future. Like that's how we were used to seeing her.
But
She
why
had
would
that
they
curly
But why
thing.
would they do that?
Because that was on trend in the like early 2000s, doing the like springy curls.
I guess. Seems like a lot of time.
There's just no way you can tell by looking at their roots that their hair is curly.
Oh, okay.
It's just not.
Imagine having to like deal with that. Do you think they use rollers?
Maybe.
That would make
I
a
don't know.
lot more sense. I'm just thinking of the time efficiency situation.
I mean, it's literally not efficient. It's just
That's
not.
stupid.
But it looks kind of cool.
It does look cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that at one point. Anything else you want to say about how it looked? I will say, filmmaking choices, I appreciated the random presence of so much folk music in Cowbells.
Yeah.
They have like this like factory
It's
band
weird.
that plays. And they always sing songs that are like weirdly on the nose to the current situation.
Yeah, she's like, two girls who didn't know what they were doing. And you're just like, what? You're like, oh, so what's happening?
It's weird.
It's so funny. It's like, oh, did you guys like, were you inspired by the current
Yeah,
situation?
right. Like, are you making a concept album based off this week? Because that whole movie only happens in 1 week,
Yeah.
which is also bizarre. One logistical thing also about Cowbells I want to say is at the one point where Allie like decides that she's going to cover the payroll for like a week or whatever, where the money isn't there and it's only $20,000.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, what are these people being
I'm like, are they
paid?
unionized? Like, but
I had the same thought, but I was like, there's actually not that many of them.
it seems like there's only like 30 of
I
them.
literally was dividing it in my
Yeah,
head.
me too. I was like doing the math. Like if it was like 30 people, because it seems like this is like a weirdly
It's
indie
a small,
farm.
like dairy factory.
Which again leads me to this whole thing. Okay, one thing I have to say that you can tell from the way the movie is like created is that it feels like Allie and AJ live in like Indiana.
yeah,
And it feels like very LA with Material Girls, which I think speaks to the wealth level. And it also speaks to like why their personalities are so different.
yeah,
Like why the Midwest girls, like obviously I'm biased, but like have more like of a bearing on things and
Yeah.
like what is reasonable and what's not. I think that the Midwest like sensibility is still there.
yeah. Me too. I think they pull that off.
Yes.
Even though they're not even Midwestern, like Allie and AJ are.
They're from California.
Yeah. Good for them.
By the way, I looked up where River City is and on Wikipedia, because they live in River City, and on Wikipedia, they literally were like, River City is a generic name for any city that's on a river.
Okay,
So-
that makes a lot of sense that they named it that.
Yeah. Isn't that where things happen in Music Man?
Music Man,
also?
yeah.
That's what I thought. Also, I loved
Right here in River City.
I also loved it when AJ told Allie that for the rest of her ugly life, blah, blah, blah. AJ gets so mean to Allie in this movie.
The rest of your ugly life.
She's like, I hope for the rest of your ugly life you think of the fact that you betrayed me and my cotillion.
She's like, I will never speak to you again. I hate you. Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Which of these movies, Audrey, is still worth watching?
Oh, see, okay. It depends on what you're in it for.
Yes.
Are you in it for a wholesome time and like
To numb your entire brain.
numb your, yeah, just like pretend you're 10 or something?
Yeah.
Then Cowbells for sure. But if you want to like have some kind of like cultural, like
If you want to get like
bizarre experience,
yeah, or if you want to get a really good sense of perspective on
how
even
far.
though yeah, like how far we've come,
Yeah.
even though we still obviously have like a very long way to go
Mm-hmm.
with representation, this movie is like cartoonishly inappropriate.
Yeah. Like watching it made me feel like I didn't even exist when this movie came out.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, if as a young adult or somebody who consumed these movies when you were younger, I would say rewatch Material Girls because you're going to be really shocked.
You're going to be shook. And I actually think, if I may, I do feel like if you're a Caucasian woman like we are, it's a very good thing to watch to really think about what you were indoctrinated with when you were a kid.
Yeah, even if you didn't have a similar upbringing to Ally Mae J or Hillary and Haley Duff.
Oh, yeah,
there are elements of it that do apply to all, like, white girls.
And yes, I agree. But what I'm saying is, like, the fact that that was a thing rated PG with Hillary Duff in it that our parents and maybe your parents, like, bought for you and gave you to watch. Like,
because they just saw Hillary's face, thought of Lizzie McGuire and all the stuff that she's in that is fine.
Yeah.
And then was like, okay, here you go. And then it ended up being so different. The messaging that you get from Material Girls is vastly different.
Yeah. And, like, the aggressions that are acted out in this movie, like, surely settled into the subconscious of many women out there. And not just women.
Yeah.
Girls, gays, and theys that watch this movie. And I think that Cowbells is boring as shit, to be totally honest with you. We didn't even talk about the random French guy love interest that doesn't need to exist. Both these movies have a really heavy-handed sense of, like, shoehorning in romances for both
girls.
For both sisters, even when only one of them actually has a developed one.
Yeah.
And
I don't like that. It's unnecessary. I don't even feel like we need to talk about it because we've talked about it in so many other movies.
Been there and done that. But
the subconscious.
Cowbells is boring as shit. Material Girls is appalling, but I think that it's better to be appalled and think than just be bored.
Be bored and be like, oh, that was a nice trip to my nostalgia or whatever.
Which obviously we are indulging here in general, but I think between these two, Cowbells is exactly what you remember. And because there's not a lot of depth.
No.
And even though they do acknowledge privilege in that movie.
Yeah, and they do some things that are, I guess, slightly ahead of their time for 2006, but not hardly. I mean,
it's bare minimum stuff, but still. Like giving away their money and, like, selling their cars and doing it not because they're forced to. I mean, I guess AJ is kind of forced to, but
she ends up being forced to, but she comes around. She does come around.
Anyway, I guess we're saying that Material Girls comes out on top as a more relevant long-term piece of cinema.
I mean, Cowbells is a better movie as far as basic movie standards go. You know, those types of boxes like music, cinematography, acting, wardrobe, just like those elements, the basic ingredients of a movie.
Yes.
But if you want a cultural awakening and experience and just to recognize how far we have come, I guess Material Girls is the way to go. It's going to be scary, though, and I really wouldn't wish it upon anyone.
It just depends on what kind of experience you were looking for.
Yeah.
So that's it. Material Girls emerges the winner, I guess.
I think sort of.
Whatever, you get what we're saying at this point. Thank you for hanging with us throughout this spectacular Versus episode. We have another Versus episode coming up very soon. I guess we could tell you because you should listen ahead or watch the movie ahead. We're watching Bratz
and The Click.
Yes, we are doing a get your reading done in advance. And we're excited to discuss it soon.
Yeah.
Thank you again for being here.
Indulging us here.
Again, let us know if we missed anything on Instagram at 2pinkpictures or on Twitter at 2pinkpictures or email us at 2pinkpictures@gmail.com and we will be happy to air any grievances that you have.
As always.
Goodbye.
Forever and always. What is she? Always and forever. Alyssa.
That's a secret I'll never tell.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye. You can find more from us at evergreenpodcast.com/sleepover-cinema and keep up with our latest creative projects at twopinkpictures.com. We're on Instagram and Twitter at twopinkpictures and would love to hear from you there.
And if you like the show, if it brings back evocative memories of childhood or tweendom or babysitting, share an episode of your choice with your friends. And maybe even leave us an iTunes review telling us what movie you'd like to see us cover next. Sleepover Cinema is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and is edited and produced by me, Hannah Ray Leach. Special thanks to mixing engineer Sean Rule Hoffman and executive producers Michael D'Aloia and David Moss. Our show music is by Josh Perlman Hall.
We'll chat again soon.
Bye.
Strut it out, walk a mile. Serve it, ancient city style. Talk it out. Battle on. Battle for your life. Babylon. It's gossip. What you on?
All right.
Money don't talk. Rip that song. Gossip.